The courtroom is silent, too silent. Christine's hands tremble as she grips the edge of the witness stand, her eyes locked on Kody, the man she once called her forever. The air between them feels heavy, poisoned by years of secrets, unspoken betrayals, and the slow, painful unraveling of a family that once swore to be eternal. The judge clears her throat, and all the hearts in the room stop beating. This is no longer about divorce papers. This is about truth, the kind that destroys all in its path. Before we continue, I want to hear what you have to say. Should love ever be put to the test in a courtroom? Share your thoughts below, because this tale, it's going to rock everything you ever believed about the sister wives. The morning light seeps through the courthouse blinds, thin and harsh, casting everything in hues of judgment. Christine sits across from the plaintiff's table, her hands folded so tightly they are white. Her wedding ring lost long ago, but still evident is the faint tan line, remnant of the life she once vowed to clutch forever. Across the room, Kody sits with his lawyer at his side, his jaw clenched, his hair in a ponytail, his eyes darting in her direction only when he believes he won't be seen. But Christine senses it, all the looks, all the breath he draws is a silent accusation. There are spectators whispering, cameras blindingly flashing, and despite the bailiff's call for order, the atmosphere still throbs with tension. This is not another divorce hearing. This is the culmination of years of love reduced to a war that was waged silently. The judge, a woman with sharp eyes and an even sharper sense of justice, adjusts her glasses and looks down at the files in front of her. We'll begin with the matter of financial disclosure. We'll begin with the matter of financial disclosure, she says firmly, her voice echoing through the high ceilings. Christine swallows hard. This is what it's all about. The hidden accounts, the secret property holdings, the money that vanished into thin air while she raised their kids and kept the family afloat through turmoil. Her attorney, a poised and unruffled woman named Rebecca, bends forward and whispers, "Stay strong. Just tell your truth." Christine nods, her throat parched. She glances at Kody once more, and for an instant, she sees not the man who is now her opponent. She sees the husband once laughed with her by a campfire, the man who vowed love was forever, regardless of the number of wives that became part of their fair family. But it is now a bitter echo. "Mrs. Brown," the judge starts, "you've asserted that Mr. Brown kept you in the dark about large amounts of money throughout your marriage. Can you tell me what led you to believe that?" Christine swallows hard, her voice a mere whisper at first. "Yes, Your Honor. I thought we were struggling for years. We cut back on things for the children. I worked part-time. I did everything to keep our house above water. But then, I began to notice discrepancies. Money paid out of accounts I had no idea existed. Real estate purchased in the family business name but never brought to my attention." Kody's attorney stands up, his voice cutting through her words. "Objection, speculation. Dejection, speculation." The judge doesn't appear impressed. "Overruled." "Keep going, Mrs. Brown." Christine takes a deep breath. "I discovered emails, Your Honor. Transactions with Robin's signature on them. Houses, cars, investments, all concealed. I knew the family money wasn't gone. It was going into something. Something I was never supposed to know about." There are gasps in the courtroom. Kody's face reddens, his jaw tightening as he rages at her, but she does not flinch this time. Not anymore. Rebecca gives Christine a folder, and she pushes it over to the judge. "Exhibit A," she says. "Emails and statements on file verifying hidden assets related to Mr. Brown and Mrs. Brown's combined income." The judge pulls out the documents, riffling through them silently. The rustling of paper sounds like thunder. Kody turns towards his attorney, speaking fiercely under his breath, but the mic on the table picks up scraps. She's twisting everything. This is revenge, not justice. Christine listens, and it hurts, because in some part of herself deep inside, she knows that she wants him to get it. The judge places the papers in front of him and looks straight at Kody. "Mr. Brown, were these accounts revealed in your financial discovery?" His attorney clears his throat. We thought those accounts were not pertinent to this hearing." The judge's eyes are narrowed. "Not pertinent to a financial settlement. The air is charged, the silence heavier. Kody clears his own throat, defensively now. Your Honor, those accounts were for family endeavors, things that everyone benefited from. It wasn't personal. Christine is shaking her head. But you made it personal, Kody. You made all your choices without us, without me. You dictated everything, even when you told us we were equals. Her voice breaks, raw and sincere. Even the stenographer hesitates for a split second before resuming the frantic typing. The judge orders a brief recess, and both sides are accorded time to regroup. Christine steps outside the courtroom, her heels ringing on the marble floor. The corridor is chillier, more hushed, but no less oppressive. Journalists throng, calling out questions she declines to respond to. She navigates to the window instead and looks out over the city. For so long, she believed departing Kody would bring her peace. But here in this tempest, she understands peace isn't bestowed, peace is wrested. Rebecca follows her, offering her a water cup. You did great in there, she whispers. Christine takes a stuttering laugh. I didn't do very well. I feel like I just tore open old scars. Rebecca smiles gently. That's the way healing can be sometimes. Christine nods slowly, her eyes shining. He always said that truth was sacred. I guess we'll see if he believed it. Inside again, Kody sits by himself at the table, drumming his fingers impatiently. Robin isn't in the courtroom today. Something about that feels symbolic. For years, she was his confidant, the one who always seemed to have his back when the others didn't. But now, even she's standoffish. Janelle sits quietly behind Christine, observing it all, her face unreadable. There's pain there, yes, but something else too, understanding. She knows what it's like to love Kody and lose herself along the way. The recess ends, and everyone returns to their seats. The judge announces, "We'll now hear from the forensic accountant." The man, gray-haired and meticulous, steps forward. His testimony is dry but devastating. He outlines patterns of hidden income, shared accounts that bypass transparency, and an alarming amount of money funneled into one specific trust, one controlled by Kody and Robin. Christine sits in silence, each word verifying what she was already afraid of. Cody's calm mask starts to crack, his eyes nervously shifting. The accountant goes on. According to our investigation, it seems that Mr. Brown moved about $420,000 from joint marital accounts to this trust without notice. The crowd gasps once more. The judge leans back, pen drumming against her notebook. Mr. Brown, care to explain this? Kody stands, his tone cut, combative. Your Honor, I was safeguarding the future of the family. That trust was to provide for our assets, to ensure our wives and children were cared for. I didn't imagine it would come back on me. Christine stands up slightly, tears welling in her voice. You didn't think, Kody. That's where you fail. You just decided. Again. The judge holds up a hand. Mrs. Brown, please. Christine stays seated, but her gaze doesn't release him. There is no animosity there. Only fatigue, an exhausting weariness born of loving someone who took love and made it an instrument of control. The session ends with the judge declaring that the court will resume tomorrow morning to hear the financial evidence in its entirety. The gavel comes down, resonating in the room like a heartbeat. Christine releases a breath, her body shuddering as she collects her belongings. Janelle stands, putting a light hand on her shoulder. You did what we couldn't, she says quietly. Christine turns to her, puzzled. What do you mean? Janelle smiles dolefully. You stood up to him. We all wanted to, but you actually did it. For the first time in months, Christine feels a trace of relief. Not triumph, not yet, but a glimmer of strength she'd lost a long time ago. She exits the courtroom, beyond the reporters, beyond the prying eyes, and into the sunlight that seems too harsh for the days she has experienced. The tale is not yet complete. The most difficult of truths remain to emerge, hidden beneath years of obedience and fear. But for the first time, Christine does not fear what is to follow, because now she's not only fighting for herself, she's fighting for the truth that'll free them all. The courthouse the next morning smells of coffee and anxiety, the type of aroma that sticks to long days and longer resentments. Christine enters the building with her head held high, but her stomach is made of glass, every step a crack. Kody is present, suit creased, eyes darkened, a man practicing cool but seething with anger. This morning the courtroom is more crowded. Rumor has moved the financial scandal could blow into something more sinister. The bailiff rings order, and the air is charged enough to swallow. Christine can sense everyone's attention pushing against her spine, but she doesn't waver. She has spent too many years vanishing into silence to shrink now. The judge starts with standard protocol, but each sentence is a countdown. Rebecca leans over to Christine and whispers, "Be prepared. He'll try to get you emotional. Don't allow him to control the story." Christine nods, taking deep breaths. Cody's attorney comes up first, practiced smile disguising the claws underneath. "Your Honor, my client would like to present further evidence showing his openness." A folder is produced, thick and buffed. Rebecca raises an eyebrow. None of this had been revealed earlier. The judge permits it. Inside are photos printed out, family gatherings, work meetings, pictures intended to portray Kody as the benevolent patriarch. Christine looks at them, feeling the familiar sting of manipulation. "Your Honor," Kody says, voice smooth, almost imploring, "I was always truthful. Perhaps not perfect, but truthful. Perhaps not perfect, but truthful. My sole error was believing that private things would not be manipulated for amusement." His eyes slice to Christine, and for a moment, the courtroom resembles their old living room. Him talking, her retreating. But she catches herself up and stares back at him. "If honesty is concealing money in hidden trusts, I suppose you were honest in your own way." Gasps ripple through the gallery. The judge raises a hand. "Order." A witness is summoned, Janelle. She comes forward hesitantly, palms together, face conflicted. Christine's breath hitches. She had no idea Janelle would be called to testify. "Mrs. Brown," the judge starts, "describe your connection to the parties involved." Janelle nods, speaking quietly but with a quivering at the corners. I am part of this family. I've watched as money, love, and loyalty blended like oil and water." The lawyer leans forward, urging, "Did you ever see Mr. Brown talking about secret accounts?" Cody's jaw clenches harder, but Janelle's already hesitant, eyes darting to him. "Not explicitly, but I saw patterns. Expenses that didn't balance. And whenever Christine questioned things, she was told she didn't get business." Cody's jaw clenches even tighter. The mask slips just far enough to reveal the crack. Christine experiences a surge of gratitude and guilt. She never wanted to put Janelle in the crosshairs, but the truth has gravity. Rebecca gestures for Christine to remain calm. The most potent weapon currently is silence. At lunchtime, when court adjourns, the air outside is charged with rumors. Reporters yell, microphones flash like lightning. Christine maintains her gaze low, but internally she's trembling. Rebecca leads her to the steps of the courthouse where the sound recedes into the distance. "You're winning the story," Rebecca whispers. "He's losing control of the story." Christine half smiles, half sighs. "I never asked for a story. I only asked for peace." Then her phone vibrates. A text from an unknown number. "You don't know everything. Check the old safe house records." Her heart races. She holds it out for Rebecca to see, who furrows her brow. "Don't play along." Could be bait. But curiosity, old familiar sin, flames in Christine's chest. Back inside, after lunch, the afternoon session starts with new evidence. The forensic accountant is back with another file. "We found a secondary trust," he explains. "Money channeled through an address that's associated with a property called the Pine Hollow Safe House." Christine stops cold. The text, the timing. Her lawyer looks at her, furrowing his brow. Cody's eyes widen for the split instant before returning to their narrowed state. The judge leans in. "Mr. Brown, is this property related to you?" There's a hesitation from Kody. The silence stretches on forever. "It was a family investment, years ago." "And who approved it?" the judge demands. "Robin did the paperwork," he blurts, wishing immediately that he hadn't. The room explodes. Christine's heart thunders. Robin, his preferred wife, had always been the ghost in the background of the decisions. Now her presence is felt as a confession. The judge summons Robin to appear in court the following day. Christine's feelings churn: justice, fear, even compassion. This is no longer about figures. It's about the subtle hierarchies of love and obligation that tore them all apart. Kody appears devastated, torn between pride and desperation. For a fleeting instant, Christine catches sight of the man who had promised to construct heaven on earth and managed only to construct a labyrinth of deceit. The judge pounds his gavel. Session closed. Everyone rises. Flash bulbs pop. As Christine exits, Rebecca leans in and says, "Tomorrow we'll encounter the actual storm." Christine draws breath, barely able to speak. Let it come. The following day, the courtroom is a different place, electric like the air pre-storm. There are reporters standing in the hallway, speaking quietly among themselves about Robin's last-minute subpoena, and Christine can practically hear the buzz of rumor trailing behind her as she walks in with Rebecca beside her. Robin sits at the witness table, hands folded tightly, mascara already smudged, eyes darting toward Kody, who looks smaller than he ever has, his confidence replaced by a jittering, nervous energy. The judge wastes no time. "Mrs. Brown," she says, "you've been called to clarify your role in the Pine Hollow Trust." Robin's voice trembles at first, a brittle melody of denial. I only signed papers. Kody told her it was for the kids." Christine looks at her, reading the cracks in the practiced naivete, the flicker of guilt as a heartbeat under her skin. Rebecca stands. "Mrs. Brown, do you know that the trust document you signed also carried the deed on the property bought with your own individual social security number?" Robin blinks, lost, the question a knife she hadn't foreseen. "I didn't. I never noticed those details," she stutters. The judge slowly nods. "So you admit to being party to transactions you didn't comprehend?" Robin's lower lip quivers. "I trusted my husband." The words are pregnant with regret. Even Kody winces. Trust, once uttered in a courtroom, sounds closer to an apology than a defense. Christine's chest constricts. There was a point when she had spoken those very words, and to hear them now is like listening to an echo from her past. Rebecca continues softly but firmly, "Were you directly financially advantaged from the Pine Hollow account?" Robin's head shakes rapidly, then lingers too long. "Only a little allowance," she mumbles. 5,000 a month." The courtroom whispers, 5,000 is not an insignificant amount for a secret stash. The judge scribbles a note, face inscrutable. Kody's attorney protests, attempts to deflect, but the harm has already been done. Christine sees Kody's facade break down, his fingers drumming against the table, his voice low and seething. "You didn't have to tell me that, Robin." She spits back, mouthing angrily, "You said they'd never discover it." The judge pounds the gavel. "Enough. The court will determine the lawfulness of these accounts after testimony is finished." But the words struggle to keep up with the tempest now. When Rebecca recalls Christine to the stand, the room appears to be holding its breath. Christine moves forward, aware of the nation's eyes upon her, her voice calmer than ever before. "Your Honor, I used to think that love needed silence, that being faithful meant being blind. But silence is what made this possible." She points to the files stacked up like tombs of their marriage. Every lie was built on the faith that none of us would ask questions. She pauses, meeting Kody's gaze. "Well, I'm asking now." Kody stands abruptly, unable to contain himself. "You're destroying our family," he snaps. Christine's voice softens but cuts deep. "No, Kody. You killed it when you ceased to regard us as one." The judge tells him to sit down, but the courtroom buzzes with murmurs, the truth finally being heard. During proceedings being held in abeyance, Christine sees Janelle in the gallery, tears glistening but pride in her eyes. Outdoors, the wind has increased. Clouds congregate like onlookers expecting the next blow. Reporters pour again, questions filling the air, flashes illuminating. Christine replies to none. Her silence now is strength, not intimidation. That evening she does not sleep, phone ringing with messages from strangers, well-wishers, even former friends who had once condemned her. Somewhere in the courthouse deep within, evidence technicians work late, studying bank records, matching signatures. A pattern is being seen, one that connects not only Robin, but a shadow company listed under Kody's name. The following morning, when the judge reconvenes, Rebecca gives the results. Your Honor, we have evidence that the Pine Hollow Trust diverted money into a corporation called Solace Enterprises, which is wholly owned by Mr. Brown. The room is in an uproar once again. Kody's color fades. That's not possible, he breathes. Christine experiences an odd feeling of calm, not victory, but release. The judge leans forward. Mr. Brown, do you deny this? He pauses, then buries his face in his head. No, gasps. Robin begins to weep. Christine blinks rapidly once, her heart beating with the music of justice finally falling. The judge issues an emergency freeze on all family property under review and adjourns for the day. Reporters scurry out to report the bombshell. In the stillness that follows, Christine collects her papers with slow deliberation, each movement ceremonial. Kody attempts to speak, but she silences him with a glance that speaks volumes: grief, strength, and finality. She steps out into the gray afternoon, the courthouse steps wet from unexpected rain. For the first time in years, she allows the storm to strike her face without running for shelter. The rain has not let up since the verdict suspended it. By the time Christine appears in court the following morning, courthouse steps shine like glass, and each drop tastes like an omen. Within, the whispers stick to the walls, individuals speaking of Kody settling, others vowing Robin is gone. Christine pushes through it all, without blinking, her own heart oddly still now, like a storm that has exhausted itself. The judge comes in, stern-faced but tired, calling all of them to order. Today, she states, we settle the ramifications of Solace Enterprises and the individual liability of both spouses. The words sound heavy, definitive. Kody's attorney stands first, voice cracked, alleging misunderstanding, technicalities, that Solace was a family protection shell. Rebecca stands up at once. A shell, yes, she says levelly, but one constructed to conceal, not to secure. She spreads the papers out, each page a nail in Kody's defense shut. Christine observes him. His face is pale, eyes remote, as if he sees the empire he constructed on charm and control disintegrate grain by grain. Sometimes the most profound fall is the silent one, when a man discovers he's run out of ways to spin the truth. Robin arrives late, sunglasses covering puffy eyes. She sits in isolation, the gap between them a chasm. The judge calls Christine to testify one final time prior to financial verdict. Her voice is husky but unshakable. Your Honor, this wasn't ever about money. It's about ownership, the kind that declares my voice counted for less because I trusted too much. Kody glances up, something akin to regret crossing, but too subtle to pin. The judge nods. Duly noted. The courtroom returns to its gentle buzz as forensic documents validate diversion of funds for over 8 years, amounting to more than anyone could have dreamed. Rebecca concludes with measured strength. Every dollar tells a story of silence. When the recess bell rings, Christine goes outside to get some air. The sky has cleared, and the air is raw and metallic. Janelle comes out with her, arms folded. You think he'll apologize? She asks. Christine smiles half-heartedly. Apologies are his last currency. He'll spend them when they're worthless. They laugh quietly, relief tangled with weariness. Inside, Kody shocks everyone by asking to testify. The courtroom tenses as he approaches the stand, smoothing his tie like armor. I made errors, he starts, voice rough. But all I did was for family. I thought I could keep everybody safe if I was in charge. Rebecca's cross-examination is precise. And who kept them safe from you? She demands. There is silence. Kody swallows hard. Christine observes, uncertain whether she's experiencing sympathy or merely its ghost. The judge finally exhales. Mr. Brown, intent does not erase consequence. Regret always comes in too late. It comes after the audience has stopped applauding. The judge speaks her initial verdict, restitution subject to full audit, equalization of marital assets, and personal responsibility for unreported transfers. Gasp after gasp rings out, but Christine senses only quiet. She spent years in turmoil. Now quiet is triumph. As all the others exit, Robin comes over cautiously. Christine, she whispers softly, I had no idea how deep it ran. Perhaps, she responds quietly, but you averted your face when it was convenient. That is all I need to know. Robin nods, tears sliding behind the glasses. They stand apart without speaking. Outside, cameras flash once more, reporters calling for comment. Christine just says, the truth doesn't need me to defend it anymore, and goes on walking. Behind her, Kody stands alone in the courthouse doors, soaked in flashbulbs, looking like a man being photographed at his own funeral. Morning light trickles through the glass of the courthouse like liquid gold, gentler now, nearly benevolent, as Christine comes back for what is to be the last look at evidence. The air is lighter, but everyone understands that verdict day has a weight of its own. The judge's bench shines in the pale light, papers stacked in order, each page a piece of the years that led them here. Kody sits alone, no lawyer beside him today, just silence and the faint scrape of his chair against tile. He looks older, edges dulled, pride hollowed out. Christine watches but feels no victory, only closure stalking the edges of her chest. Rebecca whispers, we're nearly there. Christine nods. She can taste the end like rain before a storm. Ends never come with trumpets. They sneak up silently, disguised as another morning. The judge starts off, reading the last fiscal summary. Her voice is deliberate, slow, the voice of inescapability. The court rules that the concealed funds of Solace Enterprises are to be shared equally between the affected spouses, she declares. The words fall like stones in water, ripples in the room. Kody shuts his eyes. Robin is nowhere to be seen. Christine listens, each sentence unwinding years of anger, each of the judge's rulings taking away a small piece of old authority he once exercised. The judge continues, additionally, the court recognizes emotional distress inflicted through financial dishonesty and will retain the right to determine damage at a future hearing. The gavel comes down, gentle but irrevocable. No one stirs for a heartbeat, and then the hum starts, reporters, attorneys, onlookers, filling the space that justice vacates. Christine breathes slowly. Rebecca lays a hand on her arm. You did it. Christine gives a slight shake of her head. We did it. All those people who gave up pretending. The sky outside the courthouse is blindingly blue. Cameras follow her, questions swirl. Are you going to forgive him? Are you going to forgive him? But Christine walks on until the sound recedes. She finds herself at a small park nearby where the air smells of wet grass and relief. Janelle is already there, sitting on a bench with 2 coffees. You look like someone who's just dropped 1,000 pounds, she says. Christine laughs for the first time in weeks. Feels like it. They sit in silence, letting the world move around them. Kids play, a dog is taken for a walk. Life goes on as though the headlines have just opened up the secret life of a family. Christine spins the paper cup between her fingers. You think he'll ever get it? Janelle shrugs. Maybe one day, when everyone's gone who needs to be convinced. They exchange a silent nod, a survivor's language. Later that night, sitting alone in her tiny apartment, Christine scrolls through messages, thousands of strangers thanking her for speaking out, for demonstrating that courage can be found after control. She smiles, chastened, then shuts the laptop and scans the pile of old family photos on the table. She retains one, all of them together, before the cracks appeared, before the courtroom. She does not leave it out of sentimentalism, but as evidence that even shattered tales start in love. The rest she shoves into a box and tapes up. Outside, there is a distant thunder on the edge of the world. The world keeps spinning. She says to herself, this chapter ends here. The camera of memory pans out, Christine in her window, bathed in evening light, no tears, only drawn breath. Weeks go by, and the courthouse that had seemed like a battlefield now sits still in the distance as Christine rebuilds her rhythm one sunrise at a time. She rises early, brews coffee, drives the long road to a new job teaching community workshops about independence and money awareness. Her laughter less harsh but more solid. The world continues to attempt to make her saga headlines, but she has mastered the art of selective silence. Kody, on the other hand, disappears from the tabloids, hiding behind the veil of apology interviews and half-promised memoirs. His empire is now an abandoned town of bygone beliefs and shattered trusts. Christine hears his voice only once, through the television, cool, measured, feigning humility, and she turns it off mid-podcast. The children come on weekends. They speak more openly now, no longer censoring themselves to spare him. One afternoon, her oldest daughter asks, "Do you miss the family?" Christine hesitates. "I miss who we thought we were," she replies. In moments of silence, she composes letters she will never mail. Sentences that start with "I forgive you" and end with "but I'm not coming back." The act itself is like cleaning dust from the corners of her heart. And then one rainy night, Rebecca calls. There's going to be a follow-up hearing, she says, a counterclaim by Kody. He wants to contest the damages. Christine exhales disbelief, closes her eyes. She thought it was over. But part of her isn't surprised. Control never gives up without a final show. Let him file it, she answers. Not this time, I won't blink. On the new hearing date, the courthouse is smaller, nearly mundane. Reporters still cluster about, but their excitement has worn off. Drama spoils quickly. Kody is back at the defense table, thinner now, eyes sunken but voice refined. He alleges emotional distress, public humiliation, loss of reputation. Rebecca's cross-examination is quick. "Mr. Brown," she asks him, "do you think your own reputation was damaged by what you did, or by the truth of what you did?" He hesitates. "Both." The judge inclines his head. "So choose which one you might have been able to control." Soft laughter spreads through the courtroom, tension melting into quiet justice. The complaint is dismissed in minutes. Christine exits before the reporters can question her. Outside, the clouds part, a solitary beam of light falling on the courthouse steps where last spring she once shook. She remains there for some time, allowing the heat to seep into her skin. That night, she goes to Janelle's new cafe, a tiny, intimate place filled with flowers and the scent of cinnamon. They giggle over minor things, failed recipes, a customer who believed Janelle was her own twin. "We lived, you know," Janelle replies, smearing her palms against her apron. Christine smiles, eyes glittering. "Alive even more than that. We rewrote the narrative." All around, talk buzzes, mundane and lovely. Christine sees this as what peace is like, not Hollywood, not heroic, just persistent. She drives home beneath a sky ablaze with pink and orange, the world freshly mundane. At home, she opens up her journal and writes a sentence, "Tomorrow belongs to me." She then smiles, closes it, and allows herself to sleep. Months have gone by since the courthouse steps last rang with their feet, and life has assumed a softer rhythm, one that pulses with healing and not heartache. Christine rises now to mornings that fill the air with the scent of coffee and peace, no longer fear, and her days unfold in plain rhythms of work, laughter, and moments that require nothing but being, yet under that peaceful veil, some that require nothing but being, yet under that peaceful veil, some that veil, some that like mom veil, some that being, want the scent of kofter rhythm, some that kofter elf, and moments that require nothing. Christine rises now to fails, sympathy and feels, laughter elf, and empathy and heartache. Articulate but senses every time her phone vibrates with an unfamiliar number or a letter shows up with no return address, as if the past, still agitated, will not be laid to rest. One evening, late, as golden light spills over her kitchen table, she opens an unadorned envelope addressed to her alone. Within, one sheet of paper. "You may have won the court, but you haven't won the truth." Sharp, unmistakable handwriting, Kody's. Her heart races, not with fear, but with the familiar anger she thought she had outgrown. She neatly folds the letter, then slams it into the sink, where the water smudges the ink to a haze of meaningless gray. And yet the message remains, haunting her in her sleep. A few days pass, and Rebecca phones again, sounding hoarse. "Christine, there's buzz online. Somebody's spilling old recordings from the show, raw ones. They spin the tale, make you appear." She pauses. Manipulative. Christine's eyes are closed. He's not finished, is he? Rebecca breathes. Men like him never are. The morning after, the tabloids indulge, headlines screaming betrayal, half-truths, recycled images. Christine gazes at her reflection on her phone screen, her own eyes gaping back at her under false headlines. She's drained, but not shattered. If he wants to fight shadows, let him, she whispers. I'll fight in daylight. Soon after, she appears on a quiet talk show, not a tabloid circus, but a thoughtful one. Her tone calm, steady, unshaken. I'm not here to fight anyone, she says to the host. I'm here to remind people that leaving isn't betrayal, it's survival. The audience applauds softly, tears in some eyes, the kind of understanding applause that comes from shared pain. Later, alone backstage, she checks her phone. Hundreds of messages pour in, women, men, strangers thanking her for telling the story others are afraid to live. It feels like a wave, gentle and vast. But during that same flood, a second message emerges, one that is anonymous. You don't know the whole story, Christine. You were never supposed to. She presents it to Rebecca, who furrows her brow. You think it's him. Christine wrinkles her nose. This is different. The next few weeks become discreet suspense. Late calls hang up before she can pick up. Silhouettes linger too long outside her apartment. She starts locking her doors again, something she hadn't done in months. Still, she refuses to retreat. One evening, she visits Mary, who has been distant since the verdict. They sit on Mary's porch, silence stretching between them until Mary finally speaks. He called me, she says softly. Said he wants to start over, rebuild what's left. Christine watches her, pity mixing with frustration. You don't trust him, do you? Mary shrugs. I don't trust myself anymore. Christine takes her hand. Then believe this, you don't owe him another version of yourself because he can't get along without control. Tears well up in Mary's eyes, and for the first time, the wall between them cracks. They sit in the declining light, two women no longer adversaries but survivors connected by history. Christine drives home that evening with something she doesn't recognize, closure, perhaps, or grace. But when she turns onto her street, she sees a dark vehicle parked opposite her apartment. It disappears by morning, but the discomfort remains. A week later, a package materializes, no return address, just her name. Inside, a USB drive. Rebecca warns her not to open it without checking for tampering, but curiosity wins. She plays it. The screen flickers to life with an old video, footage never aired from the show. A confession-style clip where Robin, tearful, says, Kody made us all choose sides. He said if Christine ever left, we'd destroy her before she destroyed us. Christine sits frozen, breath shallow. The tape cuts abruptly. Silence. The reality she'd long suspected now gasps for air before her very eyes. She sends it to Rebecca, who breathes. This changes everything. Within days, the tape is leaked, but this time it's the world who rallies around her. News channels take it up, painting it as the exposure of manipulation, gaslighting, and the emotional manipulation behind reality TV grins. Kody remains silent, his public appearances all but disappear, his online fanbase turns. Christine doesn't celebrate. She simply exhales, the weight at last moving. Weeks afterward, she's asked to speak at a women's rights conference. She demurs but acquiesces. On stage, under warm lighting, she tells her story, not as rumor, but as fact. We define strength as being loud, she says, voice firm, but sometimes the quiet that pronounces, I will not go back, is where strength resides. The crowd rises, applause building like thunder. Christine smiles, the sound erasing the echoes of courtroom floors and camera lenses. As she steps off stage, she can see Janelle and Mary waiting in the wings, beaming, brimming whole. They laugh together, that deep, healing kind of laughter that feels like beginning again. Outside, the night comes alive, and for the first time, she is free without needing to prove it. As she steps out into the fresh air, the imagination's camera holds on her face, firm, calm, eyes ahead. A year has gone by since Christine last entered a courtroom, and while the dust of scandal has long passed, the reverberations of what transpired continue to hum quietly under the surface of her new life, like the soft rumble of a distant storm reminding her how far she's traveled. Her mornings now start with the chirping of birds outside her window, the clinking of her favorite mug against the counter, and the peaceful rhythm of a woman, 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 woman, a woman, of a woman, of a woman, under the surface star of a woman, of a woman, a woman, of a woman, as a woman, a woman. Others, yet on the anniversary of the verdict, the world chooses to recall documentaries, retrospectives, online forums, people picking apart her life once again, presenting it as the story that changed everything. She sees none of it. Instead, she drives to the outskirts of town, where the desert merges with the horizon, the same place she stood years ago when she chose to leave. The wind pulls at her hair, and with it, the slight scent of rain and dust. She breathes. You did it. Not triumphantly, but in thanks, to herself, to the girl who lingered too long, to the woman who at last left. That evening, she has dinner with Janelle and Mary at a restaurant nestled between mountains. Laughter surrounds the table. They discuss everything but Kody. There is no necessity. His name no longer carries the potency it did. It's just a shadow dancing at the periphery of recall. Robin, they learn, has gone away, opting for seclusion rather than for sympathy. Christine doesn't blame her anymore, only compassion. We were all stuck in the same book, she whispers, just reading different chapters. At home, she finds a letter slipped under her door. For a second, her heart lurches, an old habit, but when she uncreases it, her breathing calms down. It's from one of her daughters, handwritten and filled with love. Mom, I finally get it. You left. Thanks for showing me that silence is not peace. Christine holds the note against her chest, silently weeping, the kind tears that purify rather than shatter. Healing doesn't show up with fireworks. It simply shows up one everyday day, masquerading as peace. Weeks become months, and Christine's advocacy continues to expand. She begins giving workshops all over the country, teaching others to identify emotional manipulation, drawing on her experience not as tattling but as instruction. At every workshop, individuals wait in line to thank her, tell their own tales, weep, and embrace her with shaking hands. She listens to all of them, for she knows what it's like to long for being heard. On stage, her voice rings with warmth. You don't have to burn your past to light your future. You just have to stop living in its ashes. The crowd nods, their eyes shining with tears. A reporter in the back calls out, "If Kody were sitting here tonight, what would you tell him?" She smiles, calm and certain. Nothing. I've already said enough by moving on. In another part of the country, Kody watches from a small living room, surrounded by silence. The TV flickers with her image, poised and peaceful. He looks older, wearier, the man who once commanded attention now staring at a life he no longer recognizes. He switches off the TV, relaxes back, and mutters under his breath to nobody. Perhaps she was correct. The words linger on the air like a belated confession that is too little. Outside, snowflakes start falling, shrouding everything in a soft, forgiving white. Months afterward, Christine publishes a book, not about the courtroom, not about Kody, but about learning to value oneself again. It becomes a bestseller in hushed tones, cherished not for sensationalism but for truth. In the last chapter, she says, "We don't always receive justice from other people. Sometimes, justice is simply granting yourself permission to live in a different way." At the launch party, she stands before an audience of admirers, family, and strangers turned friends. Her daughters are present, smiling, beaming, undefined. As she signs books, one woman asks her, "Do you ever regret it?" Christine hesitates, meets her eye, and responds softly, "Only the years I spent believing love was about losing myself." Undefined, that evening she comes home and leans against her window. City lights flashing beneath. Undefined, the score of her life has been rewritten. It's softer, steadier, full of quiet victories. Undefined, she inhales slowly, closes her eyes, and allows cool air to fill her lungs. Somewhere within, She senses the tale ending not with finality, but peace. Undefined. She takes out her phone, opens her social media, and writes her first public message in months. To everyone still battling to be heard, don't stop. Undefined. The truth doesn't vanish because someone's scared of it. Undefined. Thousands of likes pour in, but she doesn't look at the screen. Set default. She just puts the phone down and smiles. As the credits to her life's most recent installment roll in the mind of the viewer, the camera pulls back. Christine across a deserted street in the fading light of day, shadow long and untroubled, the sky awash of gold and violet. The narrator's voice, your voiceover, goes soft here, warm but strong, bearing the emotional brunt of resolution. In the end, the courtroom didn't define her. The courage to walk into it did. And perhaps that is what freedom is. Not winning all the fights, but being brave enough to fight them without losing yourself. She pauses at an intersection, the signal changes, and she crosses, symbolic, bare, conclusive. Then the voiceover swivels in toward the viewer, that intimate closing tone. So now that you've witnessed Christine's transformation, I need to hear from you. What does freedom look like to you? Is it leaving, forgiving, or finally at peace in your own narrative? Leave your thoughts below. I'll be reading each of them. Because perhaps, just perhaps, your story could be the next one that gives someone the courage to begin again.